right here. All right. 4 words. I'm doing one. Shake, hum. I'll do that. Mm. The third word is abide. So do this for a while. How long? If you can do it for 30 seconds, it'll help. If you can do it for a couple of minutes, it'll help more. If you can do it for even longer, eventually it'll help a lot. So if you can abide, eventually the fourth word, liquify. Now, that's all you need. You can move on. If you want to hear more, I'll be saying more. But I'm going to go ahead and do some randomization. I took a roll of the Paradox engine, and I'm going to go with just the first roll, Abide Xenobiotic. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to give anything to you. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shake, which is what I was doing. Instead of humming, I'm going to look at my I Ching. See, this is the I Stochastinator, so I'll do that. So, hexagram 40, deliverance. I cannot read that at all. There we go. Can I read that? Yeah. Release. That's good. Release of tension, untying the knot, a thunderstorm, clearing the air. So, in fact, right here, if you have tension from the day, shaking is going to loosen it up. And really, this is good enough. You're in a meeting on Zoom, turn off your camera, stand up, just do a little bit of light shaking. It doesn't take much because the shaking that you're doing is not going to be doing the work. It's the pulling of the muscles on the fascia, the crosstalk and the noise. And really that's what it is. It's just random noise. All right, now, speaking of which, the meat mechanic lens, hardware dynamics shift under this pattern, acknowledge structural noise without forcing the zero drop function, thixotropic fluids need time to adjust, track telemetry for autonomic balance. Excellent. Okay, well, a lot of stuff going on there, but let's just look at trixotropic. So your cartilage, and your fascia has a lot of cartilage, is trixotropic. Now, what that means is it's actually it's a non-Euclidean liquid, and when you sit for a while, it tends to turn into more of a gel-like state. It thickens up a little bit. This kind of gentle shaking, and that plus humming, will eventually help it loosen up and return back to a sort of a default sol or liquid state. And in terms of where you're going to notice it, you notice it here and here on the inside of the arms, the chest, forehead, maybe temples. You'll actually feel the heat coming off the body because you're putting what's happening is you're putting energy into the system. I'm bouncing. The humming, besides being a vagal nerve pump, really good for you, helps increase your CO2 resistance. It's also vibrating in your skeletal muscle and coming from the inside. So you're getting a higher frequency and a lower frequency, which is generating random frequency, coexisting and interacting. And so that's what's going on, and that's how it's working. So speaking of which, from the somatic perspective, high latency processing metabolizes the specific energy. The inner critic's broadcast provides vital diagnostics, find the liquid state amidst the structural path. So keep shaking until you're loose. I mean, I could say more, but that's pretty good. And then finally, the connected lens. P2P handshakes depend on your internal stability. The fractal pattern projects that extract state outward, ensure the node is clean before attempting complex relational code processing. Shake it out, calm it down. You're going to lower your nervous system. You're going to lower the ATP. Things are going to quiet down. Your inner critic, which is actually just an internal reporting system, is going to be able to use quieter messaging. Also, if you do this on a regular basis over time, it does help with your parasympathetic dominance. So it's actually going to help with your vagal nerve. It's going to clean your lymphatic system. Over time, those kind of things reduce your A1C, your inflammation, so on and so forth. And eventually your body could, over time, at least my experience is, you start to get healing and restorative stuff happening throughout the day so that by the time you go to sleep, you're doing different processing. Anyway, personal experience, your results may vary. Okay, now, in the case of the I Ching, when you throw the stalks or whatever process you choose to use, I'm rolling a 1d64, there is a certain chance that you will have a second hexagram. I think the actual chance is something like 17.11% or something. So I used a 1d6. So if you roll a 1 on a 1d6, you do not have a changing hexagram, which has to do with do you have old or new yang lines, old or new yin yang lines, and so on. It's a really intricate, beautiful process, and it itself is a meditative process. So, however, sometimes I just want to have some randomization, so that's what I'm looking at. These iStocastinator. It's just on my blog. All right. Now, anyway, transforming. I transform into the well. All right. The traditional lens, inexhaustible source, foundational truth that does not change. Shaking. Your cells use shaking. Noise is a part of life. And in fact, everything is noise. And it's the differentiation of noise that allows you to make shapes and understand how things interact. Noise is also the same thing that is at the heart of everything. So complete differentiation is pure noise. Complete non-differentiation is singularity. But noise is a natural process. And this actually, from a systems perspective, helps reset your systems, release your cartilage, and calm down, turn down your ATP usage, which means your nervous system is calmer. And the reason your inner critic can be so loud is it's a status reporting system. If you're using a lot of energy, it has to use loud messages. If you're not using a lot of energy, it doesn't have to report as loud. It turns down. Also, if you do somatic work, like for example, you work on your spine, you work on your body integration, you loosen your muscles, you actually can increase the capacitive flow of actual biomechanical energy and elasticity through your body. Your body literally can handle bigger charges, which means when bad stuff happens, you can handle, I mean, it still happens. It's not any better, but you don't have you have a better ability to maintain when that happens, i.e., you're deepening your well. So the broomstick lock negotiates alignment here. This is the first pass. I'm not loving the broomstick lock. That's fine. Autonomic coactivation requires tuning. Now, autonomic coactivation is a thing. You can have both HF and low frequency popping up at the same time. It's easy. I can give you a process here. Let me just really give you a quick process. Do some housework, do some deep thinking, or maybe do some repetitive work and listen to a complex bop. Just keep yourself engaged mentally for a while. And then shake and hum for a while, 15, 20 minutes to start getting a thixotropic release. And you'll feel it again, here, so on. And then after that, do some deep flexibility work. Go sit in a blaster pose for 5 minutes each side. And while you do that, deeply breathe. And what you'll find is throughout that process, I lied. One other thing, and this is actually a lot of what I'm talking about. These are biomechanical things. These are the ways your body works. And if you understand these things, you can use them. And seriously, shaking, as simple as this is to me as fundamental as taking care of your breath. Absolutely. Humming, same thing. The humming extends your exhale, which helps with parasympathetic dominance. Because you're putting yourself under stress, it's actually increasing your tolerance for CO2, which increases your ATP generation. So you're increasing your capacity to produce energy while you're simultaneously reducing your need to maintain. So notice how that really works. You're widening the gap of potential. You're lowering the floor, which is volumetric. You're widening the gap. I'm not saying don't do other stuff, but if you do this, it's going to have a much bigger effect if you have any kind of stress in your life, if you drink coffee, etc. All right, let's see, keep reading. Okay, the liquid state is challenged by explicit cognitive override. That's what I was saying, right? Think about stuff. Listen to a good podcast. Actually go out to the yard, and if you can, squat and pull weeds. That's a really good one to get your vagal nerve working. Acknowledge the logical interface, but do not let it drive. Groundedness and tone calibrate based on your ability to sit with the noise. Love that. Sit with the noise, sit with the discomfort. You're in a deep pose, you're in blaster, your hips are screaming, but now they're not screaming. They're letting you know they're under stress and you're paying attention. And in the act of that, you're doing several things. You're loosening your hips. Not bad. You're clearing systems out and you're going to have the repair come back in. If you have some shaking, when that stuff gets sort of filled back in, it's called thixotropic grooming. The brain literally sends signals down to the new structure. It samples, it gets a better idea of what's going on down there. You get a signal back up, and literally the signal coming down from the brain is electric, the dielectric material, actually in the cartilage will get aligned better. And so by doing something like this, you reset the dielectrics back into a good aligned state. The brain starts to send signals more cleanly. Oh wait, less ATP. I'm really nerding out for a while just because I haven't done it for a while. Let's see. The next one, the connection lens. The systematic resonance of the state deeply affects the P2P handshake. Stabilize the internal architecture before routing outward. The fractal expands from your baseline. All right. So I'm going to go back. No, I'm not going to go back. I don't need to go back. I was going to go back a few months, but it doesn't really matter. But let's talk about, again, let's baseline shaking. I had a surprising situation, and I got bit by a cat. No problem. It's one of our cats. I broke up a fight, but I started shaking. And then I noticed that shaking was actually increasing, was helping my health quite a bit. It was improving my sleep and a bunch of stuff. Fast forward a couple of months, then I started noticing that actually, then I started adding humming. And at that point, then it really started loosening my body much more quickly. And so I can do deep flexibility poses and start either very warmed up as if I've been in the pose for 3 or 4 minutes because I've got my nervous system turned down. So I'm getting past the hardest part. Or if I manage to get to the point where I've done enough of this, then I can get the heat release, then my body is much looser and I can go much, much deeper. And in fact, I've had to pull back consciously to not hurt myself because I was stretching too deeply. And since I've been deeply stretching for 4 years, when I say I'm stretching too deeply, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I know I'm not going to do it. So there you go. It doesn't fit for me. So while I'm here, I'm going to add in a little more randomization. So abide, MU, engage, transact. I'll change transact. Engage, engine, withdraw, context. So now I'm going to actually hum for a while. I'm going to inhale, and I'm going to just allow my hum. And the tone isn't that important, but if you start to do this enough, different tones, different mouth positions, don't grip anything, will vibrate to different parts of your body. Also, how you position your body. So I'll be doing some other stuff later on if you want to see it. But one thing, shaking can be disorienting. If you get disoriented, sit down. If you have some kind of condition such as ADHD, you might also, for people with loose joints, and some people have ADHD have loose joints, instead for you, since it's already loose, you need to tighten. So this is a good basic homeostatic thing, but feel your body. If you feel pain, stop. Now, you're gonna have to figure out what pain is. I can't tell you, but I can give you some guidelines. If you can point at it, pull back slowly. If it's in a joint, pull back slowly. All right, those are things you wanna really pull back on. If it's discomfort, that's what we're looking for. If you go too far, you'll notice. Your body's going to tell you. For me, it starts to get a little bit of a shake, like as an internal rejection. And if I catch it in time and I try to move slow, so I do, I just back off and then I abide. So what we'll do is we'll go into a pose and we'll inhabit it for a while. So we'll engage that pose and inhabit it. And then on the withdraw, come back a little bit. So come back 1%. Why? So I was talking about how the body works, and I'm going to finally get back to that. I didn't intentionally go away from there. I'm just flighty. So when you put your body under discomfort, the typical thing is you're tight, and then you release fast. And so what happens is the body has a natural tendency to build up vagal pressure. And then when there's a bit of a release, it just throws out a huge surge, like your RMSSD goes up, etc. So what you can do is with that knowledge, you stress your body, discomfort, conscious discomfort, breath work to keep yourself calm. And then at the very end, when you're ready to come out, you don't come out very much at all. In fact, for example, I might do something as simple as that. And I moved about maybe a 1/4 inch. That's sufficient. The thing is, when you're at the edge, sometimes I'm using balance to sort of maintain just on the edge of like safety, because I'm really trying to sense my body, and then pull back a little bit and just wait. And here's why. Your body needs some time to recover. You don't get a reaction. You get a vagal pump sometimes, often. I mean, I regularly for me. But more importantly, by sitting there, your body, your brain is now continuing to sample. It saw where it was. It knows what's there. It knows where things are better. and then you pull back and the brain can sort of settle on that, and then you come out. And you're sort of working with your autonomic system. So it's called autonomic because it is auto, but you don't have control, but you have influence. You can use your breath to influence your autonomic system. 5 breaths a minute is a really good baseline. If you just do that, you'll do wonders for yourself. I could tell you more, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm starting to get some feeling up here in my head. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into actual humming because that actually speeds up the process for me quite a bit. Also, it'll release my calves. Okay, so here we go. And I know this looks silly, but I'll get better sleep. I'll loosen my body up, and I'm clearing my cartilage before I go to bed. So I'll be the fool for everybody else, but this works for me. So here we go. I'm gonna be bouncing. I'm gonna be moving my body around to sort of feel where I'm at, and just try out things. But again, watch for stabby pains. If you can point at it, pull back. And I'm going to keep my eyes open because eventually I'm going to allow my whole head to move. And if you really relax, you're overloading your visual system, which is a great way to help get your body sort of. Basically, it's a great technique for getting into an altered mental state. And I'm serious about that. So here we go. Okay. Get a nice bounce and. Now, this is mantra meditation, moving mantra meditation. It's essentially, it's not, but the thing is, there are characteristics of this. First of all, in terms of adding the humming will give you similar effects to mantra meditation, but more importantly, you might actually find yourself getting a little anxious, a little tight. Stop if you do. Something like 5% of the population does, and honestly, who knows what it is? It's very likely overstimulation, right? Because you're doing some innotation, you're working with your vagal nerve, you're also stimulating your skull. So it could actually simply be that. And if you add shaking, maybe over time, eventually, humming will be good for you. I didn't start adding humming into my shaking until about 3 months after consistent shaking. So I can't tell you what would happen if you mix them before you have one. But I don't think it's a problem. Just feel your body. So I'm going to go back to humming for a while. So notice I just externally rotated, lateral rotation to my arms. I'm working on the deep front line. Deep front line. Oh, actually, I'm not doing my deep front line. I'm going to possibly engage if I push up my fontanelle. Sorry, but I'm engaging my ligaments to affect where the stretch goes, or where the both where the shaking goes and also where the humming goes. I'm starting to really warm up on the front, and I'm also it's an out of breath but not out of breath feeling, and it's because I'm building the CO2 up in my system, so it's a little bit of vascular dilation and CO2. So I'm working my vagal nerve, sorry, and this is really good for you. Also, it really counts as excellent exercise. So here we go. almost get a standing wave going. I'm not quite loose enough. If I get loose enough, I can get a sort of standing wave and affect it with my hum. So that's what I'm working towards, just because it's fun to do. But I've already got some sweat on my forehead. I've got some releasing here. So I've definitely been loosening my body, and I'm using ATP now to use less ATP later. So I'm going to go back to the beginning here. Shake, hum, abide, liquify. Nope, I haven't got it. Not quite. I might forego it. I've got head shush. Where are you? Oh, there you are. You're right there, buddy. Hi. Oh, come here. Come here. Here. Let's do some shaking. Okay, ready? Okay. I'll do more gentle shaking. I'm not going to do that too, buddy. I'll stop. Yeah. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm going to do some basic Qigongs, what I'm feeling like doing right now. This is, I think it's called Monkey Sweeps the Floor. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to step behind, and twist and look in the direction I'm stepping behind. I'm going to push my hands, specifically my pisiform bones, but don't worry too much about that. And then I'm going to sweep my hands once, and then twice. And this is just working with your spiral line. Your spiral line starts at your temple, swirls around to the back, and then around the midsection, and eventually it crosses right at the lower dantian. And so by twisting in both directions, you're stimulating those twisty lines. Also, since I'm working as I'm working on the superficial backline. The superficial backline is a continuous line of fascia. And I might be a little bit off on this, but it starts under the toes, goes under the feet, and then it goes up the ankles, both sides, I believe. Keeps going up and up and up, crosses along the psoas, I'm going to guess. I don't exactly know for sure. And then it continues up the shoulders, and then eventually up over the head, and then into the forehead. That's an interesting one. Then there's the deep front line, inside. So in Tai Chi, we do a snake creeps out. Let's see. Here. So it's something like this. Punch. Snake creeps out, coming up the deep front line. Grab an incoming punch. Fascial twist. And then punch. And don't step on the kitty. So a lot of what you're doing in Tai Chi is working along the fascial lines. Okay, so now I've got a nice cooling. So my body was warm, sort of the whole thing is cooled off a little bit. So the state transformation is not going on anymore. Now I may not have gotten my whole body, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try a few things to see where I'm at in terms of flexibility. I'm going to start with the wall because actually, let me think about this. Slight change of plans. I want to do a little test. I'm not great at back bends, and I haven't done one for a couple of days, but I just want to do basically a test. I don't know where I'm at. There we go. All right, I'm going to do just a little bit of warming up before I actually try. So here's the thing about back bends. If you don't want to get a pinch in your lower back, you need to open up your hip flexors and push out. You want to push into your feet. So notice, in fact, get rid of this thing for a moment. So the secret is trying to get out of the back. If you can get out of the back, the rest eventually comes. So I don't want to do this. Well, I don't want to do this because if I don't open my hips, I'm going to eventually, right there, I'm starting to get to my back. So if I'm going to practice here, I'm going to bend my knees and push my knees. Now, you're often told, do not put your knees in front of your toes. Totally agree, in a dynamic move. I am moving slowly, but I'm going to be careful, and I'm not doing a step down here. So I'm okay with having my knees over my toes because I'm basically holding that. And then I'm going to open my hip flexors. And right there, then I'm going to reach back. Now, based on that, we'll see how this goes. In fact, I'm going to move this chair right here. I'll be using this in a bit. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to do one more warm-up before I do this. I'm going to demonstrate another little trick using the superficial back line. So, what I'm doing here, it's better if it's taller than this for me, but this will be fine. I'm going to get my legs pretty far back, and I want to get it to where my butt is pulling backwards, sort of falling back, and then my hands, I'm just going to let them sort of use the friction. And so what I want to do is I want to have my entire back line extended. Okay, that's good. I'm going to push my fontanelle forward towards between my wrists as my bum goes away, and my back legs are engaged. That's pretty good. So now if I hum, I should be able to feel it possibly all the way down to my calves. So here we go. I'm feeling that all the way into my Achilles tendon. It's not much, but I can feel mild vibration all the way down there. And I had to keep adjusting to really get that entire fascial chain sort of engaged and tightened. And whew, now, of course, I don't know that that really helped with what I'm about to do, but okay, we'll see. So now the next thing is, I'm using this so I don't slide too much. No, I still haven't got the arm strength, but, I can at least get off the ground. It's better. Okay, now, the reason I wanted to do that first, because I'm going to stretch in another way that would not be good for doing the back bend after. Actually, I'll use the spots. So this here is about where I end up about 4 minutes into the stretch. How little stretch. My trapezius muscles are already relaxed and released. Now, actually, my left one is. My right one is not bad, but it's not quite as loose. I'm pushing with my toes, and that subtle forward motion is deepening the stretch. Oh boy, something just released. Whew. Okay, I have to come back a little bit, and then just abide. Bit out of a breath to do that right now. Oh man. Well, my right shoulder, my right trap is entirely released now. Okay. I'm gonna come out a little bit and sit here for just a moment. Push up my belly to relax and start releasing the arms. And, I gotta be careful. On my right side, I hit a spot, which is an old injury, and it's fine, it's completely fine, but I can feel a knot there. And I tore under my shoulder blade 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. And, that was deep. Whew. Okay. Now notice I didn't come out of that very slowly, but I didn't come out of it too quickly either. So, wow. So I've got a bit of a heady feeling below the surface, and there's some wiring for the vagus nerve up there. So I'm going to take just a couple of 5 breath minutes, coherent breaths, 5 breaths a minute. This definitely counts as somatic work. I'm doing more stretching. Yes, I am. I'm sorry, I'm doing more stretching. I'll pet you more. All right, let's see. Do I have my yoga strap handy? I do not. I don't use that. Don't use that. Where did I put it? So I'm going to go ahead and stretch my forearms and also work on my wrists. So normally I would do both wrists at the same time, but I'm going to do a version of this where one wrist is like so, the other wrist is like so, and then I'll reverse. So I'm going to actually need to time this, especially for asymmetrical poses, unless I'm consciously trying to balance because one side is looser than the other or tighter than the other. I want to be symmetrical, so timer. I'm putting a little bit of pressure, a little bit of discomfort on both wrists, but not too much because you're going to be here for 3 minutes. This is a highly leveraged pose, and what I mean by that is it's very targeted. I'm not working on very many muscles here. I've got the forearm on the right and the back of the wrist on the left. And then I'm just using my torso to add just a little bit of pressure, and of course I'm trying to keep it balanced so that each wrist has just a good amount of discomfort. And then slowly over time, I make small shifts so that I cover more of the overall surface of the muscle. Very slow adjustments. And also, as long as I'm doing this and moving around slowly, my brain is taking samples. There's always, so just like if you're with your dog, you are always training your dog, and your dog is always training you. Your brain is always sampling the body. And so the more you move your body, the more you force neurogenesis. Clean up your house, neurogenesis. You're still making neurons about 750 a day in the hippocampus. Do proprioceptive stuff. It does wonders for your brain. Do somatic stuff. It integrates your body, your muscles, and your fascial lines so that you can handle higher capacity. So it also will lower your noise floor, so you'll have both more capacity because your noise floor is lower, and sorry, I'm going through a tight spot. Just a second. And increase your vagal tone as well. Lower your noise floor, increase your vagal tone. And also, as you lower your noise floor, your inner critic, which is a status reporting system, will calm down, which means less ATP. It's a virtuous cycle. It starts with shaking, humming, abiding, liquifying, staying with discomfort, engaging discomfort, inhabiting discomfort, slowly withdrawing from discomfort. So let's see. So I think we talked about this. We want to stabilize. We want to expand and withdraw. So stabilize is things like neck isometrics. Okay, I'm coming out slowly, slowly, slowly. And I'm not using my wrists at all. Just relax. In fact, I'm going to stop that. There we go. I'm going to gently just stay here for a second. Move. Okay, other side. So I'm going to see if I can work through a matrix of words. At the start is, and this is a set of words that work for today. Shake, hum, abide. Now, I've added liquify to that first row, but whatever. Shake, hum, abide is the key sequence. And if you do enough shaking and humming and abiding, you're going to liquify. And when you liquify, it magnifies the shake, hum, and abide. So they're all feeding off of each other. But why lower your noise floor? What do I mean? If you shake off literally the stress of the day, you'll loosen muscles, you'll loosen your fascial lines, you'll loosen other tissues. And people talk about mystical energy and all that kind of stuff, and that stuff, real or not, the bottom line is if you loosen your muscles, if you shake and get a trixotropic release, your body uses less energy. You have more energy because you're using less energy. And then the act of doing it over time lowers your noise floor. So you'll have more energy because of the vagal work that you're doing. You'll have better ATP production capability, more responsiveness, higher HRV, heart rate variability, meaning your body is more responsive. You do this for a while, eventually you get over a threshold. You get to a so-called state change, and then all of a sudden the body can start doing stuff during the day. But here's the thing. If you just start shaking, for me, I started getting better sleep right away and lots of other health benefits. So the only downside is you have to do it. Won't do it yourself. It won't do it itself. But what I find is once I start doing it, it self-stabilizes, and in fact I have to stop doing it. It's not the other way around. So you might consider it. It might be your thing, it might not be your thing. The humming magnifies it. You're basically shaking with sound and shaking physically. I haven't done this one with the wrist on my right side for a long time. It sure isn't comfortable. So that suggests to me it's probably a good thing to do. Okay, again, lifting my torso, letting my hands sort of flow naturally up, not using them. And then neutral, turn the clock off here. So now after doing that, I wouldn't want to try to do the back bend. So when I'm doing the deep flexibility stuff, don't you do yang stuff. Shaking is fine. Shaking is a homeostatic, gentle shaking, but I wouldn't want to do any kind of I wouldn't do a push-up now. Push-up might be okay, but I wouldn't risk it because I'll do a push-up when I want to do a push-up. I don't want to do one. So there you go. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I want to do? I haven't done much stretching. I'm gonna try something. I've been doing a pancake on a mat. I'm gonna do the reverse, except I'm gonna keep my knees bent. Let's see how this goes. Now, when you bend your knees a little bit, it moves the stretch up into the muscle belly. I don't know if I want my bum elevated at the moment. Let's see, do I want to do that? That's good. I'm also going to do not too wide on the pancake because I'm trying to get a little bit of a different target. Sometimes you want to go wide. Sometimes you want to go narrow. The thing is, I've got lots of time before I'm going to ever be terribly flexible. So this is only 90 degrees. Let's see what this does, if anything. Actually, I don't like the pillow. I want the knees bent, but I don't want the pillow. It was adding a nice little forward fold, but I'll make up for it somehow. So I might have my eyes closed, but I'm as if I'm looking forward. That helps with the back a little bit. I'm going to use this to sort of like just relax and melt into it for a little bit, let everything settle for a second, and then I'm going to go back to going deeper. So I'm not doing reps, but I am taking pauses because I want to let my, specifically, I think, definitely my hamstrings a little time to calm down just a touch, but more my groin. So now I'm pushing my fontanelle up, dropping my shoulders. So essentially I'm working on the second bow in Tai Chi. Whew, that is tender. Come back to you in a second. Can come out just a second here, just a little bit. I'm just going to pause here for a second. I was deep, deep, deep in the psoas. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Oh, wow. I can still feel things kind of coming back into place. And there's that heady feeling again. If I had my heart rate monitor on, that was a surge there. The tightening. That's a lot of activity up in the forehead. Whoa, man. Oh, wow. The colors have changed. My back's a little stiff, but I'll fix that. Next time we do this one. Okay, step one. Just a little bit of extension there. I don't want to stand up and do a forward fold. I'm going to instead do either happy baby or asymmetrical happy baby, or maybe just something like this. This would be fine. Oh, I want one little pillow for my head, though. Much better. Oh, this is a nice position right here. I'm slightly pushing my breastbone to the ceiling and arching my back, but my shoulder blades are on the ground. Ooh. Better come out that really slow. Oh, yeah, gotta be careful there. That's tender. Overdid it just a touch. Not too bad. All right. I'm going to do a modified bridge on the floor just because I think that'll feel good. Oops. Ooh, man, I'm getting all the way under my toe there on my left foot. That's the superficial back line not being happy. Nope, that's too much. Bug in my cranium. Okay. Just a touch of Shavasana. And to close for the evening, I'll do a little more shaking just to actually shake out that tension in my back more than anything else. I'm done with the humming for now. The humming isn't actually, try just doing gentle walking and humming. It's actually a really good exercise. It really ups you can get a lot of extra cardiovascular health simply doing that. So you can get a lot more out of the time that you have. Maybe I'll do humming. Okay, actually, I was turning my foot out. And sometimes if I do that, I notice a little bit of thing going in my calf. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of pigeon toe, deliberate pigeon toe, gentle shaking. Careful on your knees here, but this does actually loosen things. It changes the vector of the shake. And so if you have a little bit of tension and you notice your body doing one thing, try the opposite. Don't reject what your body does, but try. That's all I'm saying. It might be that you're doing exactly what you should have been doing, but here's the thing. If you don't try, you won't know. As soon as you know, you're doing something consciously. For example, when I practice a Tai Chi form, I step ball of foot first. Doesn't matter. I mean, whatever. It all depends on your intention, but that is a style. When I'm practicing Tamo's 18 Qigong set, heel first. Just a style. Sometimes I switch it up just to try. I don't like in the case of Tai Chi, the ball of the foot is a biomechanical thing. So it actually generally works out better in my experience. But you can actually do it however you want. But the important thing is, are you even aware that you have a preference? So step one, I just suggested to you that, maybe you step ball of foot first. Maybe you step heel first. And interestingly, if you're wearing an elevated shoe, like something with a heel, where your heel is a little bit higher than your toes, then you're likely going to generally hit with your heel more, which is going to have a different overall impact on how it reverberates through your body. If you wear flat wear, you're going to tend to sit more maybe flat. And I actually consciously sometimes mud step or shuffle step or use my hips to put my foot forward so that I'm hitting more flat, especially when I'm walking and humming, because it tends to give a different kind of a reverberation through the body. But just try it out. If you spend any amount of time paying attention to a part of your body, you're going to find that you can do a lot more with it because you're paying attention. That's it. So attention changes reality. Actually, you know what? I want to change that back. It doesn't change reality. It changes your perception of reality. That's fine. It changes your frequency because there's a lot of stuff going on, but you're only aware of like 0%. The ratio, I work with the ratio of 50 to 400 million, 50 to 400 M million. It's representative. It's absolutely wrong, and yet it's fine because it's correct enough. But let me give you an example where that's important. Your body is amazing if you let it be. If you turn down your nervous system, your body can do amazing stuff for you. So I'm doing this consciously so that my body is having some coordinated effort to clean itself up. By doing this, instead of fighting it, the whole thing just becomes consistent, and you're basically doing integrative work. So a little bit of conscious effort on my part turns my nervous system down, and all of a sudden I'm able to increase my field of view. And really, it's not that sometimes your field of view actually does change. It's more that you can see things more clearly. You can see the essence of what's going on a little more clearly. And it gives you either a more informed, quick decision, or maybe a little more time to make a decision. And if you have a little more time to make it, and when I say a little more time, quarter second, who knows? It could be a minute. The point is, you won't know, but you will get some improvement. And David Nichtern calls that spaciousness, right? That's not the only thing it is, but that's a really good thing it is. And really what that means is, if your nervous system is turned down, it can take in more before it has to fire. Neurons fire at a certain rate. So really what you're doing is you're keeping yourself in a calm state so that you can take in more before you have to react. And in doing that, you can take a first sample, right? So in information, until you actually have some kind of connection, until you prime the pump, you don't have a sample. So you can guess, or you can wait for a sample. Maybe you start by saying, well, okay, I'm going to assume this is, hexagram 64. I don't know what hexagram 64 is, but there's a hexagram 64. And so you use that as a template. Now, here's the thing. There's 64 hexagrams. There could be a million. It doesn't matter. In fact, there's something like 4,096 combinations if you follow the traditional pattern. Well, that seems like a lot. The thing is, it's fractal in nature. So really, these are all archetypes that all sort of describe things with a certain set of characteristics. So we talked about the well as my second one, and that just seems to make sense because I'm liquefying, I'm filling my well, I'm deepening my well by doing this, and I'm using my conscious behavior to deepen my well. And what do I mean? I'm turning up my parasympathetic health. I'm improving my vagal health. I'm cleaning my lymphatic system. I'm turning down my ATP usage. Over time, this practice is going to help with inflammation. And even I'm going to go so far as to suggest the possibility of the astrocytic cells switching from A1 to an A2 phenotype, which means they're storing glycogen instead of using it. And I say that based on my lived experience. So high speculation, probably wrong. If you listen to someone, medical science, they're going to argue with you. But actually, if you look at every single piece of the way, plus the HRV data I got, I don't need data. It works. So shaking alone is amazing. Shaking and humming is double amazing. But you probably need to spend some time building up the connectivity. So I'm really quick, I got to go to bed really quick. Neck isometrics, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, release. Stretch the body. I've got stuff on the videos. I've got videos for all this. I've got blog posts for it, but you don't have to do much, but do it a lot. Good night.